Hello, everybody. I'm Shubhajit Goswami from the Leprosy Mission Trust India. I welcome you to today's discussion on building a fairer and healthier world, which is the theme of this year's World Health Day. And before we jump into the conversation, I would like to introduce our organization and my colleagues with whom I'll be in conversation with. So, the Leprosy Mission Trust India is the largest leprosy focused non governmental organization in India. We are heavily invested in providing specialized leprosy care services through our 14 hospitals across 10 states. We are equally focused on research on how to prevent transmission of leprosy and disability in people who have experienced leprosy. We are also heavily invested in rehabilitating people affected with leprosy and other disabilities by giving them a livelihood opportunity, by giving them training in our different, at least 6 vocational training centers across the country. And we train them so that sometimes they can become a part of the workforce and live a dignified life. We also put our boots on the ground through our 9 community projects, wherein we work closely with the community people, try to understand their issues, and empower them, capacitate them, train them to be the agents of change that they want to see in the society and their lives. We are also into advocacy, wherein we try and build an enabling environment for people from different marginalized communities and disadvantaged sections so that they can live a dignified life. And today's discussion, we will focus on the different strands of this term, fairer and healthier world, what what it means in real sense, what are the challenges in achieving that 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 ideal, and how do we try to address those challenges, and what are we doing as TLMTI to address those challenges. I have 3 very dear colleagues of mine with me. Dr. Helen Roberts, she is the medical superintendent at the Leprosy Mission Hospital in Vadathora. It's in Tamil Nadu, eastern part of the state. And I also have G. Manivanan. He is a project manager for the Inclusive Empowerment Project. He is Helen's neighbor, operating from Kadalur, which is also in the eastern part of the Tamil Nadu. And last but not the least, I have my colleague Pankaj, who is a senior uh, physiotherapist, a veteran with the Leprosy Mission Hospital in Shadra. And I hope with these 3 people, I'll get a lot of insights into the subject, the issue that we are trying to discuss. I welcome all the 3 of you to this conversation. Mani, Helen, Pankaj, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Hi, Subhaj. Thank you.
Welcome, welcome. Okay, great. So all of us in the same screen. So without further ado, let's jump into the conversation. I'll come to Helen first. Helen,
Yes.
uh,
Yep.
you have been a medical practitioner for so many years. Your association with the Leprosy Mission Trust India goes back a long way. You have operated in both rural and urban setup. You have interacted with patients from different backgrounds with different needs. I want to ask you, when you hear about, when you think about healthier and fairer world, what are the thoughts that come to you? What do you think are the foundations on which this idea is should be built on?
Yeah, thank you, Subhajit, for asking this question. I've been privileged to be associated with the Leprosy Mission for the past 30 plus years. Um, uh, And as a nephrologist, I see that I worked as a medical officer at the ground level, the leprosy control program in the slums of Calcutta, where I have seen that the people finding it difficult to access the health care. So even when we go into the slums, they would be hesitating to come to us wherever to the vehicle, of course. Mostly that we used to have a clinic in a small club or under a shadow. Sometimes even from a vehicle we used to distribute the multi-drug therapy. But even then, I have seen people hesitating to come to us. I can give one or two examples. For example, we had a patient, a transgender patient, who used to come as a last person, so that she doesn't want to be seen by anybody else. She would just collect her MDT blister and just vanishes. And there was another person who is a traffic police person. He also, he doesn't want to be seen by his own colleague as a person affected by leprosy. He would just, as we get into the vehicle to move away from the clinic, is to just come collect the blister pack and then go away. And because of his long standing, he used to have a recurrent ulcers, but he cannot practice self care and so on. I have seen like that. Even it. Even as an ophthalmologist, I have seen that we used to conduct eye screening camps in the communities. But our people affected by leprosy, for screening for cataract and all, they will be the last to be seen. Somewhere they will be in the corner. So we have to go and find them, otherwise they will not come. So it is that. So we need to have that, healthier community, but also fair for all strata of people belonging to different societies to come on the same way that they can access the healthcare very freely. And when we see people affected by leprosy, they are affected with a lot of inconvenience because of the insensitive hands and feet, or deformities, or even whatever the case may be, that they have their own self-stigma, that they do not want to be seen by their family members, they do not want to be seen by their neighbors, they do not want to be identified as they are accessing the healthcare to this particular hospital. So they would want to hide even that hospital ID card which is given to them. So that should not be the case. That any with the people, whoever, whatever the disease that they have, should not be identified as what they are suffering from, but as a human being, and they have a basic right to access to the health in whichever the health facility that they are nearby to them. So it's a very appropriate theme that we have for this year, especially when we are experiencing this pandemic even now. I think we'll be talking about it in the later part of the conversation. That's it from me.
So Helen, now that I'm glad that you broached this issue of people being discriminated against and they fear being stigmatized, and they are the last people to turn up at the healthcare service and facilities. I would like to ask you, for example, when we are talking about equal access to healthcare, we cannot separate inclusion from equal access. So inclusion, not just in terms of including communities that are vulnerable, that are discriminated against, that are marginalized, but also including different aspects of a person, the social aspects, psychological aspects, anxiety and everything that also influences the healing process.
Yes.
So as somebody who has been working in different setups and different parts of the country, do you see yourself contributing to this inclusive healing and asking, not just treating the leprosy or ulcer, but also treating the patient, understanding the mental health, understanding the anxiety, the concerns that he or she has? What has been your learning curve in all these years?
Yes. See, when a person, when we talk to them, first of all, for them to accept the diagnosis, it's so difficult. It is a time-consuming process for us as healthcare workers, and also for them to comprehend what is really going on in their body and to accept the diagnosis itself. And in the process, I have seen many people breaking down, many people, so it is, we need to talk, we need to counsel a lot. Sometimes the person would accept, but not the family members. So it is just not the person alone. It inclusive of the immediate family members. It includes sometimes it includes the community where they live also. I know a person, an elderly person who had leprosy, not a severe disease, but just a single patch. But then he had three sons. One is a lawyer, one is a doctor, one is an engineer. But you can imagine, they used to, all three of them, well educated, well informed, including the doctor's son, kept that old father away in one corner of the house. That was the situation way back in the 90s, early 90s. So you can imagine what even if they don't have, simply because it's a diagnosis of leprosy, whether they have deformity or not deformity, whatever may be the case, they've been discriminated. So it takes a lot of effort for us to, first of all, to convey that, it is a treatable disease, and to start the treatment and to continue the treatment, and then to make sure that they do not develop any deformities. Also, people who are coming from a difficult to reach places, like in West Bengal, I have seen people coming from this Maoist infested forest areas. It's so sad to hear their stories. They would come with severe reactions. We have to start them on steroids. When we educate them and tell them to come, you have to come in 2 weeks' time or 4 weeks' time. What they would say that if I'm alive, I would come. It's so sad because it's just not the disease alone, but it's the situation in which they live in. And sometimes we have also seen that people coming to the city, if they can come this side, or sometimes if they can escape through the other side, they would go to Purulia Hospital. Many of the times that we have to tell that so and so patient, if they are coming either this way or that way, that we would do the needful for whatever they are coming for. So that is the situation. It's just not, it's the social, the local conditions, and also financially. And because when they come to us, and if they, in case if they have to stay a long time in the hospital, they lose their wages, they lose their employment. So we have to think, talk to them, what would they do for their earning, make sure that they get something, and also through some CBR area or whatever help that they could do. And because of all this poverty and discrimination, those things, their children would not go to school. So it's also important to see whether the children are getting their education, or if not, what we can do, that we need to help them to pursue their normal studies. And not only that, in their family lives. Sometimes I know of a person who filed for divorce just many years after that lady was healed of leprosy. She had just a small patch, it was healed, but then he found out many years later that she had leprosy, and found out that the hospital ID card was there. So he filed for a divorce. So we had to counsel him. He wouldn't listen, but we had to give a letter stating that this lady is treated and she's no more infectious, and so we have to, we have to defer that divorce and all that. So many young people, because of in the multi-drug therapy, we have a capsule clofazimine which would discolor the skin. Many fair-skinned people, they will get ridiculed because they become dark. And some of the side effects, they lose their hair. So things like that. Some of the drugs can cause even psychosis. So these are some of the things that we have to deal as a case, as an individual case, and then it's just not the health part of it, physical part of it, but also to see what they have got, what they are going through emotionally, socially, economically, and spiritually. Maybe sometimes they need a lot of support. It's not like any other disease. This is my experience.
Perfect. So I'll come to Mani. Mani, it's clear from what Helen said right now that there are different barriers to seeking treatment. It could be a discrimination based on your disease. It could be income insecurity. It could be geographical remoteness. It could be conflicts in an area. It could be various other reasons. It could be stigma. It could be fear. It could be misinformation about a disease. It could be it's an amalgamation of a lot of factors that might prevent a person from seeking treatment. Now, when we talk about equal access to healthcare services, we know that this this health-seeking behavior has to come from the communities. So equal access to treatment is not just about building infrastructures. It's not only about building infrastructures or facilities, but it's also about building that healthcare seeking behavior, that mentality within the communities. But there are so many barriers to that. It could be economic, it could be social, it could be psychological, it could be different other. So as somebody who is working with the communities at the grassroots level all these years, do you think these challenges are similar in Kadalur and other places in Tamil Nadu? And what has been your response to, or how do you try to address these challenges? Mani, you are on mute.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for the opportunity, first of all. Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, it is big challenges we also face in the communities because of the lack of health-seeking behavior in the community. As you said, first of all, the response should come from the community, because the community members has to know, they should aware that the health is not just like a privilege, or the health is the right, it is the basic right. So everybody has the right to access the healthcare service. And also they have a lack of awareness what kind of services available or where it is available, like that, and the right information also they couldn't get it, especially since I am in the field from the rehabilitation, physical rehabilitation. I can give an example like in people affected by leprosy and people with disabilities, the health care services and the rehab services is not like a one-day process. Like, it's not like you go to the hospital and get the medicine and come back and it will be okay. It's not like that. So they have to continue the therapy. Basically, they have to follow the therapy services on daily basis. For example, if you say that if in leprosy, if people have anesthetic hand and feet, so just having a medications will not recover this sensation. So every day they have to practice their self-care. So like this, and where they have to get this kind of informations. And also we also have not only working with the people affected by leprosy, we also working with people with disabilities. See, when we say that the geographical area, like the physiotherapy and the occupational therapy and the aids and appliances services. So if you see that these are all the services is usually not available in the PHC level. Okay, usually in the community members, if they want to go for the healthcare, immediately they will visit nearby the PHC. So usually this will be in a district level. So where there the challenges, even though if they aware, if a child with a developmental delay or the children with cerebral palsy, so even though they know that they every day they have to go for the therapy, they have to travel into the district hospital or near to the medical colleges and all. So when they have a disability, again the mobility is big issues. So these are all the challenges the people affected by leprosy and people with disabilities they are facing. In to respond to this, what we felt in our project, even the TLM TA, we thought that one thing is we have to create a lot of awareness, and we want to demonstrate them what the services are. So what we did is uh, we started providing these services into their village level. So we created a small village level therapy units so that people will come and get therapy services. So we created a self-care groups so that the in the groups so they can share their self-care programs, they can learn. And as you said that it is not only when we talk about health, it is not only like a physical. And as Dr. Helen Madam also said that they have lots of stigma, people affected by leprosy. And the peer group counseling was very useful in the self-care groups, because whatever you counsel as a healthcare professional, people will listen in some level. But among the peer group, if the discussion is going and the counseling is happened in their level, and that will bring a big level of changes. So it gives a very good impact. So we also develop lots of champions, we teach them the rights of health and other aspects, and we train them the therapy level. We created lots of volunteers so that they learn and they help the peer groups. So in that way, the champions, if they come and share their stories, so that will bring the changes in the communities. So we demonstrated lots of models. It is not just teaching something. So we demonstrated so that one day the community will aware what is happening. They will see, and also the duty bearers uh, of who has to provide the services. So they also will observe and they also will practice the same way. So that way we can experience the sustainability of the services. Yeah.
Okay. So I assume, Mani, that you are building champions from the communities itself and making them an example or making them a mentor for the others who are sort of still hesitant, they're still ignorant about certain diseases, not very aware of the disease, and that's why they are staying indoors, they're not coming to the hospitals, not coming for treatment. But do you also uh, somewhat train them or make them aware of the different schemes, the government schemes that are available and they can avail of? Because I assume that there will be a lot of financial constraints in those communities, which is a big reason for them not turning up at the centers, at the healthcare centers.
Yes, actually, there is a biggest advantage in our project, the community project in Cuddalore, have three components we are looking after: the disability management and the livelihood. So we not only just provide the healthcare services, we also looking and giving them training on the livelihood aspects. Also, we train them. So we also having an information center which is run by the people affected by leprosy and disabilities. So there, so the champions will share the benefits, the government schemes and all, and we build the capacity of the people. So about the government schemes and the aids and appliances availabilities and various entitlements which they can receive from the governments. And we also link with them with the various partners so that they can access that services also. I also forgot to mention that, so as the geographical and the mobility was the challenges for the community to access the healthcare services, the project reached to the people to provide the services into their doorstep level. So we were giving a services in the mobile therapy van. So all the hospital therapeutic setup will be available in our mobile van. So we go in our team and we provide the therapy services and all into the community. So when the people have challenges that when they cannot travel to the hospital, so now the hospital is going to the house. So that.
Hold on to that thought, Mani. I'll come to my other colleague Pankaj.
Yes.
So Pankaj, I'll come to you and come back to you, Mani, on that thought. And so Pankaj, if you have been at the epicenter, आप TLM में पिछले कई सालों से हो, आपको पता है किस वजह से क्या क्या तकलीफें लेके पेशेंट्स आते हैं आपके हॉस्पिटल्स में, उनको आने में कितनी दिक्कत होती है कभी कभार, जैसे डॉक्टर हेलेन ने बताई। आपने ये भी देखा है, आपने कोविड बहुत करीब से देखा है, कोविड-19 को, बिकॉज आप हॉस्पिटल्स खुले थे, आप काम कर रहे थे वहां पे, आपको पता है कि कोविड का इफेक्ट क्या था। अभी बीच में WHO का सेकेंड हाफ ऑफ 2020 WHO का एक सर्वे रिजल्ट आया, उन्होंने 105 कंट्रीज में WHO कंडक्टेड अ सर्वे ऑन द इम्पैक्ट ऑफ कोविड ऑन हेल्थ केयर सर्विसेज। उसमें ये उभर के आया, इट इमर्ज्ड that more than 90% of the countries reported disruptions in healthcare services. 90% से ज़्यादा countries ने report किया कि हमारे healthcare services disrupted हुए, and low income and middle income countries ने बताया कि हमारे जो facilities है उसको run करने में हमें बहुत दिक्कत हुई. We had the greatest difficulties in providing access to healthcare during the COVID. ये भी उस सर्वे से ये भी उभर के आया है, इट ऑल्सो इमर्ज फ्रॉम दैट सेम सर्वे, WHO सर्वे, दैट सिर्फ रूटीन एंड इलेक्टिव सर्विसेज ही नहीं, नॉट जस्ट द इलेक्टिव एंड रूटीन सर्विसेज which were suspended because of COVID, but at times critical care को भी हमें interruption दिखा. So some low income countries, some countries some interruption in critical care services. आपको कोविड का डिस्ट्रप्शंस का साइन कब पता चला, एंड व्हाट डिड यू थिंक, आपकी टीम आपने क्या डिसाइड किया कि क्या करना है, हाउ टू, साइंस आपको पता चला होगा, एंड देन यू मस्ट हैव थॉट, आपने कुछ सोचा होगा कि हाउ डू वी टैकल दिस, तो क्या किया जाए, क्या रिस्पांस मैकेनिज्म था आपका ताकि एक्सेस दिलाया जाए?
ओके, थैंक यू सर फॉर दिस अपॉर्चुनिटी। सर हमें पता चला जब एकदम से अचानक से शायद अनाउंस हुआ कि अब शायद कुछ रेस्ट्रिक्शंस होंगी, लॉकडाउन वगैरह होगा, तो वी वर इन शॉक कि हमने तो बहुत सारे पेशेंट्स को अपॉइंटमेंट दे रखी होती है, क्योंकि कोई भी ट्रीटमेंट, लेप्रेसी का कोई भी ट्रीटमेंट ऐसा नहीं है कि आप उसको एक बार दे करके वो बंद हो जाएगा, यू हैव टू टेक प्रॉपर फॉलो अप। ओके, तो हमारे पास जितने भी TLM के हॉस्पिटल हैं अक्रॉस द इंडिया, जितने भी हैं, वी आर डीलिंग विद मोस्टली विद, ज़्यादातर हमारे पास वही लोग आते हैं जो शायद कहीं और एक्सेस नहीं कर पाते हेल्थ को, उनके पास पहले से ही प्रॉब्लम होती है। और शायद जैसे हम दिल्ली में काम कर रहे हैं, एक शाहदरा में है, हमारे आसपास भी बहुत सारी हेल्थ फैसिलिटीज़ हैं, और उस समय भी वो सारी हेल्थ फैसिलिटीज़ बंद हो गई थी। और TLM ही एक ऐसा सेंटर था जहाँ पर लेप्रेसी के लिए गवर्नमेंट ने डेजिग्नेट कर दिया कि भाई जो भी और भी हॉस्पिटल्स हैं दिल्ली के, जिन भी पेशेंट्स को लेप्रेसी के लिए दवा नहीं मिल रही उनको आप ही दोगे। तो दैट वाज द फर्स्ट साइन दैट वी केम टू नो दैट वी हैव टू डू समथिंग एक्स्ट्रा फॉर आवर पेशेंट। So what we started, we come up with something that we discussed this matter with our state leprosy officer and on phone, और उनसे बात हुई हमारे स्टेट लेप्रेसी ऑफिसर थे, डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेप्रेसी ऑफिसर थे, तो ये डिसाइड हुआ कि कुछ ऐसी सर्विसेज चालू की जाए जिससे कि पेशेंट कम से कम जिसके बाद दवा खत्म हो गई है या उसको कहाँ से दवा मिलेगी, कुछ एक कंबाइंड गवर्नमेंट के एफर्ट के साथ और एक टीएलएम के एफर्ट के साथ एक कुछ टेली काउंसलिंग टाइप की कुछ सर्विसेज शुरू करी जाए। तो हम लोगों ने जितने भी पेशेंट थे एमडीटी पर या जो ऑन ट्रीटमेंट थे उन सब के लिए हम लोगों ने उनके नाम, मोबाइल नंबर ट्रेस किए, कुछ गवर्नमेंट से हमें मिले, कुछ हमारे डाटाबेस में थे, और सारे ही पेशेंट्स को हमने कॉल करके बताया कि भाई अगर आपकी ये दवा खत्म हो गई है तो आपको कहाँ से मिलेगी और कैसे मिलेगी, और कौन वहाँ पे नियरेस्ट सेंटर है। जैसे कोई पेशेंट अगर मान लो हमारे से 10-100 किलोमीटर दूर रहता है, जैसे सपोज वो एक यहाँ से डिस्ट्रिक्ट है मेरठ, हमारे यूपी में है वो, अगर वहाँ से सपोज सम पेशेंट है अगर उसको हमने वहाँ के डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेप्रेसी ऑफिसर का हमने उसको फोन नंबर दिया और कहा कि आप वहाँ से ले लो। अगर फिर भी उसको वहाँ से दवा नहीं मिलती है तब हमने उसको अल्टरनेटिव मेथड और बताया कि आप कैसे कैसे कर सकते हो। तो बहुत ही सारे, जैसे आपका क्वेश्चन है कि कोविड के टाइम पे कैसे हुआ, हमें कब पता चला, हमें सर तभी पता चला हमारे पास पेशेंट्स की इतनी, क्योंकि टीएलएम की हमारी एक पॉलिसी है कि मोस्टली पेशेंट्स के बाद जितने भी कार्ड है टीएलएम के उसमें लिखा रहता है नंबर कि आप कैसे इमरजेंसी में कैसे कांटेक्ट करें। तो भी हमें बहुत सारी कॉल्स आती थी कि सर अब तो एकदम से हो गया, हमारा ट्रांसपोर्ट बंद है, हम आ नहीं पा रहे हैं, हम क्या करें, हमारी तो दवा खत्म होने वाली है। या बहुत से पेशेंट ऐसे थे जिनकी सर्जरी हो चुकी थी, उनको वापस आना था। बहुत से पेशेंट ऐसे थे जिनको अल्सर हो गया था, उनको आना था। तो कोविड की वजह से सबसे बड़ी जो इम्पैक्ट, जो सबसे बड़ी दिक्कत आई वो तो ट्रांसपोर्टेशन की बहुत ज्यादा, क्योंकि बहुत सारे लोग बहुत दूर दूर से ट्रेवल करके आते थे और सारा कुछ बंद था उस समय। साथ में अभी भी आज की डेट में भी सर्विसेज पूरी तरह सही डिस्ट्रप्टी हैं, बहुत अच्छा नहीं है, क्योंकि अभी भी लोग जो अभी भी आते हैं हमारे पास पेशेंट, वो कहते हैं सर हमें 2 महीने की दवा दे दो, या हमें 2 से 3 महीने की दवा दे सकते हो तो बहुत अच्छा हो, क्योंकि आने में अब हमें ट्रांसपोर्ट मिलने में बहुत दिक्कत होती है। शायद पहले लोगों को जब आसानी से कंफर्म टिकट मिल जाता था, अब नहीं मिलता। तो इसलिए मुझे लगता है कि ये इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है कि बहुत सारी हेल्थ फैसिलिटीज का होना इम्पोर्टेंट है, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का होना बहुत ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है। इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को रीचेबल भी होना चाहिए कि वो वहाँ पे पेशेंट आ सके। दूसरी बात, पेशेंट के पास ऐसा भी होना चाहिए, वो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर ऐसा भी होना चाहिए कि मान लो कोई भी हॉस्पिटल है, कोई भी हेल्थ फैसिलिटी है, उस पेशेंट को कॉन्फिडेंस इतना होना चाहिए कि अगर मैं वहाँ जाऊँगा तो मेरा ट्रीटमेंट हो जाएगा। उसको ये जो एक विश्वास है उसके अंदर, एक सेल्फ बिलीव होना चाहिए कि सपोज आई विल गो टू दैट हेल्थ फैसिलिटी, आई विल बी ट्रीटेड एट पार विद एनी अदर पेशेंट। ही शुड नॉट फील बिकॉज आई एम marginalized, I am from particular community or marginalized group, so I will be not be treated equally or at par with other patient. So that confidence we need to build up, sir. So that is the situation that, and COVID has like, कोविड की वजह से लोगों का बहुत ज्यादा ही सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस टूट गया। वो लोग खुद भी स्टिग्मेटाइज्ड हैं, खुद भी वो हेल्थ केयर फैसिलिटी को नहीं एक्सेस करना, कुछ तो उनको डर है कि शायद हमें हो जाएगा, कुछ रेस्ट्रिक्शंस हैं। इस वजह से बहुत ही एक साइकिल सा बन गया, विशियस साइकिल सा, कि वो पेशेंट मन में वो खुद ही नहीं डिसाइड कर पा रहा कि मैं कहाँ जाऊं, किससे जाऊं, उसको कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं है। उसे लगता है कि आज मैं एक गवर्नमेंट फैसिलिटी में जाता हूँ, वो गया भी, लेकिन उसको वहाँ बोर्ड लगता है कि आज से ये सेंटर केवल कोविड के पेशेंट को देखेगा, और वो जो जनरल सर्विसेज थी वो बंद हो चुकी हैं, तो वो कहाँ जाएगा? तो वहाँ पे कोई उसको बताने वाला नहीं है कि वो वहाँ से कहाँ जाए, उसकी दवा कहाँ से चालू होगी, क्या नहीं होगी। तो उस वजह से पेशेंट ऐसा नहीं है कि वो एक्सेस नहीं करना चाहता, वो करना चाहता है, वो स्टिग्मा भी नहीं है उसके अंदर, लेकिन उसको कोई गाइडेंस नहीं है। तो इक्वल हेल्थ फैसिलिटी का मतलब यही नहीं है कि हम इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बिल्डअप कर सके। उसमें सबसे बड़ा जो मुझे लगता है, जो मेरा अपना एक्सपीरियंस है इतने सालों का, उसमें सबसे ज्यादा जो पेशेंट की जो कहते हैं कि पेशेंट को हमें अवेयर कराना कि हेल्थ फैसिलिटीज उसको कहाँ से मिलेगी, कहाँ कहाँ वो जा सकता है, वो चीज एक जो लिंकअप है, रेफरल सिस्टम प्रॉपर यही नहीं कि हम बहुत सारे डॉक्टर्स बना दें, स्पेशलिस्ट बना दें। ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है कि जब बहुत सारे डॉक्टर्स होंगे तो क्या पता उनको फैसिलिटीज मिलने लगेगी, नहीं। ऐसा बहुत जरूरी है कि उन डॉक्टर्स को जो कनेक्टिंग लिंक है वो वाले प्रोफेशनल्स भी होना बहुत जरूरी है। पेशेंट का जो ट्रस्ट बिल्डअप है किसी भी पेशेंट का, किसी भी ग्रुप का हो, किसी भी कम्युनिटी का हो, किसी भी सोसाइटी का हो, उसको इतना कॉन्फिडेंस होना चाहिए कि वो आज जाके ट्रीटमेंट ले ले कहीं पर।
पंकज, आपकी टीम ने जो टेली कंसल्टेशन स्टार्टेड द टेली कंसल्टेशन सर्विसेज, तो वाज इट ओनली फोकस्ड ऑन लेप्रेसी, नहीं कि एलाइड सर्विसेज भी उन्होंने दिए थे? तो टीम कैसा था? व्हाट वाज द टीम लाइक?
या टीम सर ऐसा था एक्चुअली में, शुरू में जब लॉकडाउन हो गया तो सर हमने डिस्कस किया, हमारे लेप्रेसी ऑफिसर के पास से हमें फोन आया कि अब तो सर देखो सारे जितने भी गवर्नमेंट हॉस्पिटल हैं दे वर कन्वर्टेड इनटू कोविड सेंटर। तो टीएलएम ही एक ऐसा हॉस्पिटल था जो एक्सक्लूसिव लेप्रेसी सर्विसेज दे रहा था उस समय। तो उन्होंने कहा कि जो भी लेप्रेसी का स्टॉक है दिल्ली में वो हम आपको दे देते हैं और आप थोड़ी कोशिश करो। उन्होंने कहा कि हम तो कर ही रहे हैं अपने लेवल पे, लेकिन पेशेंट परेशान नहीं होना चाहिए। तो उन्होंने फिर हमसे भी कहा, फिर हमने भी आपस में डिस्कस किया कि ऐसे ऐसे करना है। तो हमने मेनली तो जो हमारा फोकस था ये था कि सबसे पहले तो हमारे लेप्रेसी वाले पेशेंट, सबसे जो पहला फोकस था वो लेप्रेसी की मेडिसिन किसी की ना छूटे। सेकंड था, जैसे आपने बताया कि वो और जैसे बहुत सारे लोग हैं जिनको लेप्रेसी के अलावा बहुत सारी और सर्विसेज की जरूरत है, बहुत सारी और सर्विसेज होती है जिसके जैसे कि आई केयर है, कोई सिंपल बुखारी आ गया, कोई सिंपल और बहुत सारी प्रॉब्लम थी। तो ये जरूरी नहीं है, क्योंकि जब हम पेशेंट को कॉल करते थे तो हम तो लेप्रेसी के लिए कॉल करते थे, तो कहता था सर हमारे मेरे पिताजी उनकी आंखों में भी प्रॉब्लम है, उसके लिए हम कहाँ पे जाएं। तो उसके लिए भी ऐसा ही नहीं था कि केवल हम लेप्रेसी के लिए कर रहे थे, वो क्वेश्चन निकल के अपने आप ही आते हैं सर। आप जब भी हेल्थ के फील्ड में काम करोगे तो आप एक्सक्लूसिव तो हो ही नहीं सकते, आपको इंक्लूसिव होना ही पड़ेगा सर। आप ऐसा कभी कर ही नहीं सकते कि आपके पास एक पेशेंट आए तो आप कहोगे नहीं नहीं मैं केवल आपको इसके लिए ही देखूंगा। अगर आप उसकी बात, आप उसके लिए शायद उस बीमारी का ट्रीटमेंट नहीं कर सकते, बट उसको आप रास्ता दिखा सकते हो कि उसको कहाँ जाना है। यही एक हेल्थ प्रोफेशन का शायद मेरी ख्याल से सबसे बड़ा एक वो है।
मैं आपके पास आता हूँ पंकज जी। I'll come to money for some time. Money, you said, you heard what Pankaj said about the teleconsultation services and how a unit should reach out to people. And you said something similar, that your project did something similar by reaching out to the communities on the field. So my first question is, I have two questions. First is, did you sort of see that, uh, did you do a kind of a need assessment in that area, that this is what is needed at this point of time? Because I reckon you started this service before the COVID hit us, right?
Yeah.
So how did you feel the need for this? Did you do some need assessment, and what is the entire setup like, the mobile therapy clinic, how equipped it is?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, this mobile therapy unit, yes, we have started before this COVID also, because this Kadalur district, it is very more prone for the disaster. Very often it happens because of this flood, cyclone and all. We had a very previous experience in our projects during the flood and all. So in that time also we felt the issues. All these people affected by leprosy and the disabilities, they were totally neglected with the relief work. So in that time, we also went and did some kind of relief work and the medical camps and all. There we found that the need for the mobile clinic services. So from there, we got the idea, then we build up, then we have taken this concept and we developed this mobile therapy units. So it was working in the Kadalur district and the Viluppuram district, Kallakurichi district and all now, right now. So of course, this was a big, we felt that this is a very big asset in this COVID time, the mobile van is, because totally it is lockdown, the transportation is stopped. Even any vehicle is not allowed. So this mobile van is the ambulance kind of services, so that we can start using this vehicle. So this is one way we reached the people. And this not only this mobile van services, this also we did, because that is we were doing it before also, because the initial period, the immediate lockdown period. So we thought that because every village also had a fear about this COVID, even the village people, they don't allow other people to enter to their villages, kind of restrictions we had. So we started this tele rehab services. So because we have a database system, we have the contact number of each and every people and the self-care group, we have volunteers. So these are all the assets we created before. We realized during this COVID time, the champions are the big asset for the us, and the volunteers and the people, the self-care group members. So we started the tele rehab services through the WhatsApp group and the teams and all. So the therapist and the other people, so every group of team members, we reach them through WhatsApp, and we also started using this group call, so that because in this pandemic situation, everybody doesn't know what is happening. So we created a group call so that they started sharing the things. So they started asking the questions. So what kind of therapy? We started demonstrating the therapy services here. So that way we use this mobile van also, and the tele rehab services also. The advantages of our mobile van has even the tele consultation facilities. It has the Wi-Fi, it has the webcam facilities and all. Even the area we couldn't reach nearby, we stop them. We connect 2-3 people, different locations with different peoples, and we started giving a therapy. So that's what we managed actually.
It is fascinating to know that how difficulties, adverse situations, natural disasters teach us to think differently, think out of the box, and implement that idea. Amazing. I'll come to Dr. Helen on this note. Dr. Helen, I know that the TLM Vadathurasalur works very closely with the IEP project and extends its help to IEP. Um, so when it comes to launching a new service, something that has not been done before, it's not a traditional addition of another allied services. It's an operating sort of a mini hospital through a van and reaching out to the distant areas. What, what were the what were the thinking that was going around in your head and in the team, and what additional effort that was required in terms of, it must have taken a lot to train people or the staff or the volunteers, what all went through the process? If you can take us to the process of what all went into launching that innovative idea.
Yeah. When the COVID lockdown came in, first thing what happened is that the Tamil Nadu closed the borders between the states and very soon between the districts. So the problem here is that our projects were in Kadalur district, which is we are in Kalakuchi and they were in Kadalur. So and we have patients from all over, from Kalakuchi, Villupuram, Thiruvannamalai, Kadalur, and even beyond, all our leprosy patients. Because of the travel restrictions and the borders closing, they were not able to come to us. And we also, in our hospital, also we tried to contact these people, those who are on multi-drug therapy, those who are on steroids, what's happening to them. What has happened, the sad part is that we say that, okay, multi-drug therapy is freely available in government centers and all that. What has happened here is that all these staff have been deployed for COVID work, and they ran short of multi-drug therapy. So we had to procure multi-drug therapy, buy it, and made sure that all these people who are on MDT got them. And also those people who are on steroids, who became steroid dependent for various things. So we had to call them and see from where they got their last dose and what was their clinical condition, and try to assess through the phone calls and the video calls, and then to give them advice. Because if when the districts were closed, they could not come and we could not travel. Also, because of the mobile van that IEP project had, and after some time that there was a provision that our ambulances can go across borders and go. So then, first of all, we had to look after our staff safety. So we prepared personal protective thing. We did not wait for the PPEs actually to come in, and we started making our own masks. And for that, for stitching the mask and all, VTC came in handy. So they got hold of all the students who are nearby, the ex-students and all. They made sure that it is stitched for us. Cloth with whatever the available resources. We started having our own protective wear, the caps and the shoe covers and the gloves and the dress itself. And with the available knowledge and the knowledge sharing between the other Christian mission hospitals, what they are doing in their own situation, because it was different from in different states and different districts. So we had to learn from each other, and we incorporated all that into what is needed for us, for our situation. So first of all, we made sure that we had all our protective gear, trained our staff how to use it, when to use it, how to be careful. And when there was a request from the IEP project, Kannur and Chidambaram, that there are so many patients having very bad ulcers, complicated ulcers, ulcers with maggots. They are all there in the villages. We took a risk. Our staff really took a risk. We sent our staff in our ambulance with all the materials, sterile materials for doing the dressing in the field. This is how we, and then those patients with the severe, severe deformity with bad ulcers were brought in the same ambulance, and we could admit them in our hospital and take care. This is how we started, and then it has helped many of the patients. I mean, many of the patients actually, they were there not just because they were not able to do the ulcer dressings, but they were starving. They were staying there without food, and nobody was there. And because some of them was living in the containment zones, the relief materials were not, as Mani said, that relief materials were not reaching them, and or they could not come out of their places to access whatever the government is giving. So this was a situation, and so we had to respond to that situation. And some of our patients really got benefited through that because of the close partnership and the close cooperation between the hospital, the VTC, the projects, and that we were able to do something for the people.
Great. So we are actually at the forefront of providing, at least trying to provide equal access to everybody, irrespective of their different limitations and restrictions. Due to the paucity of time, I would wrap on this conversation by saying that there are different challenges to making this world really fairer and healthier, building a fairer and healthier world. There are challenges in terms of providing equal access. So is a wide spectrum. The spectrum of the challenges is very wide. But if we put our brains together, if we mobilize our physical and human resources, if we train them, if we think out of the box, and if we are able to bring community into our confidence, get them into our confidence, and empower them, and as well as train our own staff to be resilient and responsive. And also sometimes learning from the difficulties and adversities and train ourselves and preempt those situations and be better prepared so that we know that no individual is left behind because of his or her limitations that are not of their own making. On this note, I thank you, Helen, Mani, Pankaj, so much for sharing such insights, and I'm really, really grateful to you. I had a wonderful time conversing with you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Subhojit. Thank you,
Thank
Mani.
you.
Thank you.
Pankaj.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mani.
Thank you.